All right, it's about, Steve just turned it on. It's a couple minutes after 7 p.m. on Tuesday, July 5th, 2022, and I would like to call this meeting to order. We are meeting in the East Beaches social scene, and I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting in Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Anishinaabe, and the homeland of the Métis people. Thank you again to Frank and the crew for setup. Introductions on my far left.
Evening, everyone. I'm Mike Bertmanovich.
Steve Axworthy.
Lon Turner.
Penny McMorris.
Graham Randall.
Erwin Kamka.
Thank you, gentlemen. Adoption of the agenda. Let me find my motions. Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second? Steve, thank you. Are there any additions or deletions, gentlemen? No? Hearing none?
Yes. Sorry, yeah. Thank you, Lon. It's been a long day. I just wanted to add the addition of a COVID-19 vaccine request to the province.
COVID-19 request to the province is the addition. Does council approve that addition?
I'll give Steve the benefit of the doubt and go along with that. I have no idea what it is or what effect it might have.
It's essentially just to request from the province that we find out when the 4th vaccines are going to be released, because we are approaching the 7th month now that they opened up to everybody. And we are also waiting to find out when, where, how, and everybody's still left in the dark. And there are two.
Steve, I already had my 4th. There was a clinic in Pine Falls.
You're above 50.
Right?
You're above 50.
Oh, yeah. Right.
The rest of the population is still begging for their 4th shot.
And an appeal to the province is likely to have some effect.
Just a request for information. That's it.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Minutes of the June 21st, 2022 regular meeting of council have been circulated electronically to council members. Be it resolved that the minutes of the June 21st, 2022 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Graham, thank you. Any comments on the minutes?
If you're correct, that's that isn't.
All right, they usually are. We're pretty lucky. All right, no further questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. We do not have any delegations this evening, so we'll move on to accounts and finances. Be it resolved the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Accounts payable checks 10313 to 10369 in the amount of $170,000, 130, okay.
It's a big number.
It's a big number, $170,135.50. Included in this amount is $34,860 in community grants. June payroll in the amount of $130,160.18. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second? Steve, thank you. Discussion. Erwin?
Again, just to reinforce, we have paid out $34,000.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. Again, just to reemphasize Penny's comments, we did pay out $34,860 to a number of local activities such as East Beaches Social Scene, Faith Bible Camp, Victoria Beach Club. And the only other notable item on the list of accounts payable was a check in the amount of $52,850 to Vickers Chevrolet to pay for a brand, well, probably it's not brand new, it's a slightly used truck.
Right.
Our old one, the wheels fell off, literally.
comments or questions on finances, gentlemen?
No.
Thank you, Erwin. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. No business arising from the previous meeting, so we'll move on to other business. 7A, special event permit form, which was circulated to all of council, drawn up by Lon. Thank you, Lon, for that.
And Kevin Paul.
And Kevin Paul, our police chief. So whereas current municipal bylaws are in effect to control noise nuisances and restrict parking on municipal properties and roadways, whereas there are special events held within the RM that may contravene said bylaws, therefore be it resolved to approve the special event permit form as attached in Schedule A, that special event organizers can fill out and submit to the RM for approval to avoid fines associated with said bylaws. May I have a mover? Graham?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Mike, second? Thank you. And discussion? Erwin?
How are we going to inform our ratepayers as to the existence of this form? Will the police be having copies of this form in their cars? So and again, it'll be a learning experience because hopefully the first time we show a little bit of flexibility.
That's my understanding. I'm assuming we'll also put this on our website under forms and documents.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to hide it. People just have to look for it. And they also have special signs made up, sandwich board signs that say special event.
Those were my remarks. The distribution of this, getting it on the website, and let's make sure that signs, sandwich board signs are ordered.
They are.
And they are available. This looks fine to me.
It's more an issue of policy, ensuring that the police are aware that, it does say right on the form, police service, special event permit request. So the police service will be looking for the sandwich boards. It just makes sense that they'll get a copy of this as a matter of policy to ensure that they know what's going on.
Now, in the case of the Albert Beach Church, they hold regular evening meetings on Saturday night and Sunday morning during all of July and August. So will one event request be adequate, or will they have to do one for each of those events?
Well, the form says date and time of event, so I suppose they could put in those two, every
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday and those
Right,
dates.
do it just once.
Yeah. So, it's just, in part, it's to eliminate people complaining about special events. It's to help our police figure out what is a special event and why people are parking where they shouldn't be parking. And
Excellent idea.
Yeah. We had an informal verbal system for years that used to work pretty good, but we've outgrown it. We need a proper form of regulation, and this appears to do that.
And of most importance, the fact that right on the permit request, it says, all applicable municipal bylaws and provincial laws must be respected for special events. So even though it's a special event, that does not give you permission to set off fireworks and make extreme amounts of noise. You'll still be expected to behave with a modicum of civility.
Absolutely.
Do we have a minimum number of people that would be attending that would trigger the imposition of this? If I have 3 people at my cottage, do I need a special event?
No.
We should quantify that.
Well, there is a section, nature of the event. Now, if it looks like 4 people want to get together to get juiced up,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't consider that to be a special event, and I would probably say no, just have your beers and keep it quiet.
There is another definition that helps us. Outside the VRA, you're only allowed as many cars as will fit in your driveway. So if you've got guests such that your driveway is going to overflow onto the street, you need a permit, period.
Lon would like to comment.
Well, I think this is just mostly for the parking, where you have the 10 cars right outside you on the road.
Yep.
That's kind of where this is coming from too, because then when you fill this out and send it in, we'll know that, okay, you're gonna need those sandwich boards to be
Yep.
at your place.
And avoid
And if you have a big
misunderstandings.
band and you're gonna go late too, that, you know, that'll take part of it.
Common sense.
If this is gonna happen on residential properties, should part of the policy be polling neighbors who may be affected?
Too complicated.
All right,
Let's keep it
Let's
simple.
invite them to the party.
well, invite them to the party and understand that they're under a permit and they have to, I'm gone, they have to behave under the terms of the permit. Thank you.
The main concern is relative to parking. So if parking is going to be impacted, then you need a permit.
Yep.
But I think there's also some events that take place, for instance, at Safi's store, that over the summer, like karaoke night and different events that have received complaints over the years. So this allows them to hold the event. The police know it's happening, there's a sandwich board there, and hopefully the complaints will be kept to a minimum. It allows them the flexibility to continue to be a part of the community in a positive way.
All right, and it's understood that approval of this application will not be unreasonably withheld, period. Keep it simple.
Anything else, gentlemen? Good discussion. All right, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Bylaw 1634, regulation and reduction of single-use plastics. Be it resolved that bylaw 1634, regulation and reduction of single-use plastic items be given second reading. May I have a mover? Steve, thank you. Second, Mike, thank you. Gentlemen, discussion?
Have we consulted at all with the VB store or the bakery or with Safi's on this issue?
I did speak to Safi's and I asked them to let me know if they had any issues. I haven't heard back. At the same time, this has been made public now for over a month. So if anybody had any issues with it, then they could have brought it forward. And really this, as it's written, would be coming into effect by October 30th, 2022. So that means that this entire operating year, effectively, because of our summer season is usually when those businesses are doing most, it would allow them to continue as per usual. There's even a provision in here which would allow them up until they're out of whatever they have to use those products, and that gives them more than enough time to be able to source whatever it is that they need to find for decomposable products.
How about which comes first? The end of October or running out of available products? Which is the governing policy? There's two options there.
Just trying to find the section here. If you just bear with me for one moment.
Sure.
Isn't that more of a business decision? Because you're ordering product, when it runs out, you're not gonna reorder if you know this is coming. So
Yeah.
I don't see it as being an issue.
I'd also like to point out that Safi's store is already doing this. And they tell you to bring your own bag. I have to admit, I haven't been in the VB store. I'm not sure if they're following the same policy. I would imagine if they aren't, they will be.
What about the bakery?
I think the bakery is so busy right now. I do notice they do have paper bags. They do have cardboard on their
Okay.
Instagram site. But I think I struggle with this bylaw. I think you have to start somewhere, but I think it's also worth noting that paper bags and paper products also are a huge cost to the environment in terms of how they're made. And like, there may be more on the front end for paper bags as opposed to the rear end for plastic items and their decomposition. But I don't know that I can support this bylaw. It feels like a feel-good bylaw that will be difficult to enforce, and our contribution, while it is something, will ultimately be negligible.
And another consideration is if everybody goes paper, there's going to be a lot more bulk of recycling. The bags squish down into nothing, paper, you can pound on it, but it still takes up a lot of room. This could increase the volume of recycling.
recycling has to be clean paper and clean cardboard, but
Yes.
it's not always.
Right.
But, Steve, did you find your, oh, sorry, Mike.
It also has to do with the mess that gets created. I was up in Thompson after they had enacted their ban on single-use plastic, and there was not a bag to be seen anywhere. You go anywhere else where there is no such ban on plastic, and there are bags in trees, bags stuck to cars, bags all over the place. Paper, it's going to come to rest somewhere, and it is going to decompose over time. While I do appreciate the upfront effort and energy in that expended, I think in the long run, from an ecological and also, if I may, an aesthetic point of view, I think paper is the better way to go.
Steve?
Yeah, I found it. It's section 3 does not apply to a checkout bag that was purchased by a business prior to adoption of this bylaw. So if they've purchased it ahead of time, then it's okay as long as they purchased it before October 30th, 2022. I hear what you're saying, but if you, I mean, all of our recycling right now goes in the garbage. Either that or gets burned.
That's not true.
9% of Canadian recycling actually gets recycled. The company that we use is notorious for burning it. So as much as we like to think that we are such a green community, we actually have to start thinking green and doing green things. I brought that up previously, but we still have GFL, or whatever they're called, but anyway, this is something that we can easily do. The feds have been promising that they were going to do it for the last 6 years. They never did it. And again, you can find decomposable products everywhere. It's not like this is that big of a burden. And at this point, so many people have reusable bags that it's not even as though people are going to be out there trying to find them. So this should really be easy for everybody. And it's just a small change of business, and it really is, if I might be able to use this term, the Victoria Beach thing to do, since we think of ourselves as being so green.
All right. Good discussion. Thank you. Any further comments? All right. All those in favor of second reading?
Aye.
Carried.
Opposed?
It's carried. Thank you. Third and final reading, and this is a recorded vote. Be it resolved that bylaw 1634, regulation and reduction of single-use plastic items, be given third reading and passed. May I have a mover? Steve, thank you. Second, Erwin, thank you. Any further discussion? No one else is worried about how we're going to enforce this bylaw? Are we going to be chasing after people with plastic bags, or?
Every bylaw we've ever passed is how we're going to enforce it. That
Exactly.
is an open issue.
Yeah,
Nothing we can do about that. We just do it.
okay.
It solves itself because the stores are not going to be giving out plastic. So eventually, the problem will be minimized.
What about all the plastics we bring from home? What about all the bags we bring from Superstore, Safeway, Sobeys?
If you're reusing them, what's the issue? As long as you're not getting them from the store
Correct.
on a purchase after October 30th,
Okay, but they still could be ending up in our recycling and in our landfill, not going to the city or whatever. I mean,
but at least it'll stop.
Correct. Okay.
It's the right thing to do. Let's give it a go and see what happens.
Okay.
It's a good
Thank
start.
you. All right. Any further discussion? This is a recorded vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and I'm opposed.
Okay.
Thank you. Carried. All right, 2021 audit signature authorization. This is an annual event. Be it resolved that the Orem Victoria Beach Council acknowledge receipt from the exchange group of the draft financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021. Further be it resolved to authorize Mayor McMorris to sign the council representation letter and to authorize the CAO to sign the management letter, management's representation letter, and the statement of management responsibility letter with respect to the 2021 audit. May I have a mover?
I'll do that.
Thanks, Grant. Second? Steve, thank you. Any discussion?
Routine housekeeping.
Yes, and routine signing.
But it is a statement by the municipality that every effort has been made to follow generally accepted accounting principles, and that we have no prior knowledge of issues with respect to fraud or any other accounting concerns.
Correct. Thank you. Would you like me to sign those at the end of the meeting for you? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Preemptive measures for dike repair at Wanising. Whereas the current high water levels of Lake Winnipeg has led to severe erosion of dikes in and around Wanising and Albert Beach. Whereas another storm may cause a serious breach or complete failure of these dikes, leading to flooding of properties. Therefore, be it resolved to approve immediate preemptive measures be taken to prevent damages to properties by restoring the dikes at Wanising and Albert Beach.
I'd like to move that.
Graham, thank you. Second. Mike, thank you. Discussion, gentlemen. Erwin?
Are we able at this point to quantify what these preemptive actions might cost? And do we have any idea whether or not they will be covered by the province or the federal government?
I'm going to defer to you, Lon, if you have any information on that.
Answer to your first question is probably no. I have one invoice from a couple weeks ago, but there's a lot more work happening, obviously. And then the answer to your second question is I hope so. They have been notified, and I've done everything that I'm supposed to with DFA in order to set up a file and get everything approved. So
Contract with Wayne's is on a hourly cost plus basis?
that's what I've been told, yes.
Hourly cost plus basis at Wayne's normal rates, and we believe that DFA will pick up 80% of the expenses. I think was the number that's been bandied about. That remains to be seen. But this is an emergency. It has to be dealt with. We have to pass this resolution and live with it.
Steve?
Because of everything that's been happening, because our new CEO, Lon, has been in constant contact with DFA and EMO, they sent a representative out to see how bad the situation was. I think that their eyes were probably quite wide when they arrived. This was also shortly after Gimli had failed, and several other communities around. To quote our EMO advisor, it's an election year. And I think that if they were not to cover that 80%, given that there are so many properties that could be affected by a catastrophic failure of our dikes, then I would say it's a pretty good bet. But at the end of the day, who cares? Because we need to protect those residents and those properties.
Erwin?
And council is meeting with our emergency measures people on what has been daily or every second day to review, what's going on. The surveying of Albert Beach and Wanising is almost complete, and once we have those levels, we'll be in a better position to determine what will be the next step to protect the beach. The work is already underway at Wanising, as I understand.
If I can touch on that, we did get an update from Brad, our fire chief and EMO coordinator, at the end of the day. The survey was continued today. The Albert Beach dike is at the level of 722 feet and a little above in some areas. The dike road on Mr. Thompson's property is at or above 722 from the beach to his gate. Wanising Beach dike is progressing as planned. Trees were removed from the lakeside of the dike, and fill is being hauled from the Victoria Beach gravel pit to fill in the parts that washed away in the wind events. We'll be hauling fill in the morning to finish and achieve the proper slope on the lakeside of the dike for the filter cloth material and the rock to hold and protect property. We will be hauling and placing rock by tomorrow afternoon. There were some concerns from residents in the area about tree removal on the dike, and in some cases there were residents asked to leave the construction area. But at the end of the day, it appears that most people understand what we're doing and why. So that's the update for today.
Yep. And I'd like to commend Brad for a clear, concise update, and we have every expectation that we'll get regular updates from him as this goes on.
Any further, Steve?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things. So we've been very lucky to have had somebody in our history think that 723 would be a better level, because it seems as though that I keep hearing the number that's 722 to 723, and the province at this time only will cover costs up to 722 and not a foot above. So once this is all over, and I've already had a discussion with a couple of people around the council table with this, I really think that we need to go to the AMM at the next possible opportunity and have them try to petition the province to say that, guess what, climate change is real, it's changing things, 722 is no longer adequate, we have to go to a minimum of 724, and yes, it's going to cost the province money, but guess what, it is going to save them a whole lot more money if we don't try to get all of the dikes and protection up to that level at minimum, because this is going to happen again. And I mean, we're so lucky because we haven't had massive wave action. Like, we all know that it can happen on our lake, but man, if we get some 10-foot swells, then we're going to have some serious problems. So that's something that we need to do once this emergency is over.
You're absolutely right. 724 sounds like a doable number, and if we can somehow leverage the province through the AMN with an election coming up, we've got to make that effort.
I don't think there's an AMM meeting now until November, which is after the election, but nevertheless, we could try and get a resolution on the table. Elections are in, oh, you're talking provincial elections. I had municipal elections in my head. Most of those are October. I'm with you now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Cemetery succession planning. We've talked a bit about this. I know, or when you were trying to get together with Don Green, have you had any success with that initiative, or I know it's been busy?
Yes, we've had a preliminary meeting, and it was agreed that the full committee, their group and I would meet late August, early September. I need to find out more details about who owns what, who's responsible for what. Do they have a perpetual fund? There's a number of regulations under the Cemetery Act that may or may not be been followed. So I'll be in a better position come fall. For the benefit of our electorate, I currently am president of a not-for-profit religious cemetery in North Winnipeg. So over the years, I've become more knowledgeable about running a cemetery.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Erwin for stepping forward to meet with and work with the cemetery group, and I expect you'll keep council advised of your progress as you go along. Okay.
Any other comments or discussion on this? Yes, I echo Green's sentiments. Thanks very much for taking that on, Erwin. Up next, COVID-19 request to the province. Whereas BA4 and BA5 Omicron variant is expected to result in a new wave of COVID-19, and whereas the third dose of the COVID-19 vaccines were made available to all Manitobans 7 months prior to July 2022, be it 2021, be it resolved, the Arm of Victoria Beach requests that the Minister of Health and Dr. Joss Reimer, the medical lead of the province's Vaccine Implementation Task Force, provide a firm timeline for the eligibility of the fourth dose of the COVID vaccine. Would you like to move that motion, Steve?
Yes.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Graham, thank you.
I mean, it sucks that we're here again, but we're in the same position that we were previously, which is that everybody's waiting, everybody's asking, I understand that everybody around this table is eligible for the fourth vaccine, other than myself, other than all my friends, other than everybody I know, in terms of all of the teachers. There are 2 new variants, which are looking like they're more dangerous and more virulent than the ones before that, and there is silence. Nobody knows where our commander-in-chief of the province is. We're not testing anymore. We're not doing anything. 50 and over can get the 4th shot. I mean, people are, and I'm not just speaking for myself here, I'm speaking for really everybody that I know in the same boat. We're scared. And enough is enough is enough. We just want to know when we can get the 4th shot, and there is silence. And in Ontario, the doctors there have petitioned the province to release that information. In Manitoba, we have silence. So all I'm asking is for council just to put in one request, just to ask when is the 4th shot going to be released.
Steve, should this movement be more concise in that you're aiming at those who are under 50? That's who's on whose behalf does that need to go into the
Sure.
letter?
If that would make you happy, absolutely.
Okay.
Just a technical point, Dr. Josh Reimer is no longer head of the vaccine. She moved over to Winnipeg Health. But, you know, I'm sympathetic and I share Steve's concern, but this is not a responsibility of a municipality. You know, if our members are concerned about it, send a letter to our MLA. Because the MLAs are, you know, accountable and responsible and can speak and affect, you know, what caucus will do. Health is not a responsibility of the municipality. I share your concern, Steve, but I just don't think it's something that it's not in our wheelhouse.
I mean, just to explain how negligent this is at this point, on their website it says Dr. Reimer. So if that person has in fact changed, that is the silence. And I have contacted our MLA. I've contacted a couple of them, and this is the answer I've been given: absolutely nothing. It is, again, at this point, it's negligence. And I understand that we're all trying to bury our heads in the sand, and I understand that usually it doesn't need to come down to the municipalities, but a municipality has a little bit more power than one person, or in, quite frankly, the way that it is right now, apparently all the residents of Manitoba. I'm just asking for one request, to just tell us when am I going to be able to get protected. And when I say obviously I'm trying to say that for everybody under 50. It's negligence.
Mike?
I agree with Steve, the 4th shot is important to me, and if it's available to me, I would like to know when my children can get their 4th shots. So I'd be in favor of this. It's going to be Muhammad versus the mountain, but why not?
Should we ask other surrounding municipalities to join in with us, with this initiative?
Sure, I would appreciate that. I mean, and again, I just want to bring up another thing. Where we are is a rural municipality, is that Pine Falls was shut down, their emergency room, because they didn't have enough doctors, and they're working off of minimal staff. The rural areas, many of us had to get rid of our first responder programs because of the changes. The medical system in this province is under assault, and people just want to be protected.
Madam Mayor, what are we being asked to vote on? To send a letter or not?
Be it resolved that the Arm of Victoria Beach requests from the Minister of Health a firm timeline for the eligibility of the 4th dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
And presumably Lon would undertake this on behalf of...
Yes.
Okay.
Hearing the conversation, I understand your frustration as well, Steve, but we have always followed the province's lead during COVID. I agree with Erwin. Healthcare is not in our wheelhouse. We have a small doctor's clinic that we operate in the summer. We're not responsible for providing healthcare to Manitobans. The province is. I understand. They're not answering the call. I truly don't know that our letter is going to make much of a difference, other than we'll get a cursory response if they even decide to do that. I don't know that we'd be able to get other communities to support this. Maybe we could, but
I literally just want to try. I'm tired of the silence and quite honestly just being in fear. I'm tired of wearing the mask. I'm tired of having to wait. And again, everything said 6 months, and we're approaching 7 months now, and there's still nothing. And the vaccine numbers are going down. It's not like they don't have a supply. They have a massive stockpile. And I don't know what the game is. I don't know if it's political or what, or again, I just go back to that word because I really do feel it. It is negligence, but it's just a request. But if you support me, I appreciate it, because again, everybody under 50 is asking and waiting.
I'm not sure I agree with everyone under 50 asking and waiting. Some are, yes, some aren't.
Or at least find out, is the delay because of these 2 new strains? Are they waiting to tweak the vaccine to address the new strains?
Well, and we should give a moment's thought to the fact that the 4th dose is not necessarily the magic bullet and we're all safe forever. There'll probably be a 5th or a 6th or whatever.
Any other discussion? All right, I will call the question. All those in favor of sending a letter to the province asking about 4th dose eligibility? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So, Lon will leave that in your very capable hands. Thanks for bringing that forward, Steve. Anything else? No, not on that. So correspondence. We have definitely had a lot of correspondence the last few days in regard to our zoning bylaw. We had a meeting this afternoon that was well attended. We've got some work to do and some conversations to have between council before we make next steps. We've had some emails from residents concerned about Albert Beach and Wanasing, concerned about the stairs being inaccessible to the beaches. We have filed an insurance claim for the stairs, but I don't know, maybe you can answer this, Graham, I don't know how we're going to fix them when they're going into the water.
Fortunately, a representative from our Public Works agreed to take the adjuster around on a tour, so I very much appreciated that. I think we'd have to see what's the basis of our claim. We wouldn't want to react and start spending money too soon. We're going to have to wait till the water dies down, perhaps September, October, and a lot of this work might have to be done from the lakeside when it's frozen anyway. But if we've got our claim in there in place, and is our claim accepted or not, I think we're going to have to hold off till September, October before we actually start spending any money to be sure that we'll be reimbursed. The possibilities are endless. We could be looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars in repairs.
Well, what do we tell our summer residents and people who are visiting and renting when they go down to the beach and they can't get onto the beach? I mean, it's a tricky situation.
So I don't mind being the bad guy here, especially when we received several emails regarding the Canada flag down at Village Green, which was tattered. I'll be the very first person to say that I love this country. I love a whole bunch of things about it. We have quite a bit of work to do to better ourselves, but when there are dikes that are about to breach, lives that could possibly be at risk, houses that could be destroyed, livelihoods that are ruined, there is one priority only at this point, which is to ensure that that dike succeeds, that it doesn't fail, and that pretty much everything else is secondary. Public Works is beyond overworked. We are in a position now where we're down a couple of bodies, not through any fault of our own.
Careful.
Sorry, poor choice of words, but just, we need a couple more staff, not through any fault of our own, but they're overworked. There's only so many things that we can do at any given time, and the stairs are, it's not that it's not a priority, it is a priority, but we have to go in order, and emergencies take precedent, everything else is secondary.
Could we not just put a pile of sandbags near the stairs and get some volunteers to put down some smooth layers of sandbags, not just throw them down, but actually place them properly and create sort of a gradient to allow people to walk down? It would be a temporary measure, of course.
That's an interesting idea, Ron.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what is the basis of our claim, what details are associated with it. From there, we can decide whether we can make some intermediate moves to relieve some of these, and which ones have to wait. There's 27 sets of stairs. I would have to examine the insurance claim document, and then we'll have to prioritize which ones we address and when, and do the best we can. Sure, we very much hope that some of them will be addressed this summer, but some might not. I would assume that our claim would be good for a 12-month period, like most insurance settlements. Lon, will you be receiving any details associated with the status of our claim?
I hope so. I will follow up with them tomorrow.
Okay, well, if you'll share those with us, then we can adopt a plan on how to spend this money. And we'll do the best we can.
I haven't examined the actual policy documents, but a standard property policy excludes damage caused by wind-driven water. So I'll be surprised if they cover the claim. Plus you have a $5,000 deductible. And
I think it's a $2,500 deductible, and we've had insurance claims on our stairs.
2,500 on each set of
No,
steps.
one event. One event.
One event, yeah.
Depends on the interpreter. You know, the AMM program is excellent, and it may be broader than, in that area than typical coverages. So that's good news.
And this was a specific storm event that we can nail down to a day and a date. Okay.
Steve?
It's just one more quick thing, is that we also have to be very careful as to when we repair the stairs, because Erwin, as you had just mentioned, sorry, I think it's Penny, had mentioned that, you know, how are you going to repair them while they're in the water? I mean, you can do that work, but every couple of days or every couple of weeks, the cresting date keeps getting pushed back, and we may very well be